Okay, this is lecture number 17. Okay, and in this lecture we will discuss about the industries. First industry that will do the jute industry, jute textile, then sugarcane, cotton textile, fertilizer, paper, and pharma industries. See, earlier we started the industry topic in last class, and we did the Weber location theory, Weber location theory, and then we discussed the locations of the iron and steel industry, iron steel industry, right? And after that we discussed the location of aluminium industry in India. Okay, so in this class we will start with the lecture number 17, and this is the topic of this class. There is a request, you please subscribe the channel before starting, so please subscribe the channel. So let us start with the today's topic, the first topic, that is jute textile industry. Jute and textile industry. So the first topic, now in jute and textile industry, these are basically the agro industries, right? So in agro industries, the first industry is jute textile. Basically the locational factor of the jute textile industry, or for that matter any industry, the primary factors that we discussed in the Weber theory, whether it is raw material, transportation cost, labor, agglomeration, these all are the primary factor and will remain the primary factor in location of. But in addition to these factors, there are many other factors which influence location of any industry, and jute basically located on the eastern coast as well, more particularly on the Kolkata Hooghly region, right? So if you see, this is the primary region. This is the primary region of jute textile. This is the, sorry, this is Cuttack one. This is Cuttack region. This is Visakhapatnam. Right, this is Kolkata Hooghly belt. Right, and this is the Tarai region. So these are the primary regions where the jute textile is grown, and in these regions only the jute textile industry has flourished. So in addition to this, if we see some factors for this, the primary factor will remain the raw material, that is jute. Okay, then the second factor that we can include is the transportation cost. For example, in this Kolkata Hooghly region, the cheap transportation is available, right? Waterways are present, so cheap transportation is available. Then the market presence. Okay, for example, all these are the port locations, so the jute textile can be easily exported as well as consumed because these are heavy populated areas. Okay, then historical factors, the next, the location factor that influence the historical factor. Okay, these are the areas where Britishers invested heavy capitals, okay, in these regions. So these regions have generated a kind of industrial inertia where the industries have established, and even if some of the diseconomies are present, some disadvantageous factors are no taking place, even then the industries are not leaving these areas. So this is the historical factor because of the British regions or the capital that is already invested in these regions. The next factor is obviously the agglomeration, and it is again a Weber factor, the agglomeration factor. For example, here is the Kanpur. In the Kanpur region, jute textile has agglomerated with the cotton textile, right? In Kanpur, jute textile has agglomerated with cotton textile, right? Now coming on to the problems associated with the jute textile industries. So these are the location factors, the reasons for these locations. Now what are the problems associated with the industry? The first problem is the demand problem. So demand has shrunk. Why demand has shrunk? Because of more competition from the artificial textile, because of more competition from artificial textile. This is the first reason or the first problem. The second problem is the industry has failed to diversify. Industry has failed to diversify. Now, why I'm saying this? The products which can be made out of the jute, they are more or less constant. Okay, the new innovations can be made and new products can be channelized in the market using the jute. So this has been largely upset in the industry. Moving on to the third problem. The third problem is the stiff international competition. Stiff international competition. Now, why this is a problem? More particularly because after independence, the large part of the jute area, this went to Bangladesh, right? And Bangladesh enjoys more favorable tariff as compared to India in advanced market, whether it is Europe or it is America. Because of this, our competition in the international markets decreased. Okay, because of this problem. And the next reason why the competition is very heavy, the machinery in India, the machinery in Indian geotextile industry is obsolete. It is very old. However, the jute industries and the jute machineries which are established in Bangladesh, they are more or less new. So they have more advanced technology in that. So this is the again another reason for the decreased competition for Indian industry. And the next reason is basically industrial sickness. Next problem is industrial sickness. See, the Bengal region of India for a long period of time was governed by the left wing government, and in the left government the labor strike and the labor rights are main issues. Okay, because of this, the lockdown, the industrial lockdown, these all problems were present in the this belt. So this led to the industrial sickness in the most of the industries which are present in this belt. Okay, so this is another problem here, right? So we discussed the industrial factors, okay, which are responsible for the location of this industry, okay, in respective belts. Then the problems associated with this, particularly the industry, textile industry. But see, although there are problems, but the prospects are very high for the industry. If you see the prospects of industry, because of increasing environmentalism, the demand for the environment sustainable and green demand for environment sustainable and green products is increasing. Okay, and this demand can, if properly used, can stimulate the jute industry, because jute is the environment friendly product. Okay, so this is the first thing that have to be remembered in prospects. And the second one, that how the industry has good prospect, is that the industry, jute textile industry, is largely present in the labor intensive regions. Okay, the labor is heavy in these regions because of the population density. And the jute industry is not that something it requires largely skilled population. Less skilled, unskilled population will also work in these areas. So this has the huge employment potential. So this has huge employment potential as well. Okay, so this is, so the prospects are good for this industry. What is required is the political will and continuous work for improving, or for the changing the problems in our favor, right? So this is the basically the about the textile industry. Moving on to the next, that is the sugarcane industry. First, again, we will do where they are located, and is there any shift that is changing place in their location, and why that shift is changing place in the location of sugarcane industry, right? So moving on to the next part, that is the sugarcane industry. See, sugarcane is again a weight losing material. Is weight losing material. So it is not a pure material like cotton textile. So industry will obviously migrate towards the raw material centers, right? And the primary regions, if you see in India, the primary belt, so let us map it instead of just writing. The primary regions, if you see, the number one is the Tarai belt, this one. Okay. This is the again primary belt, right? Then the black soil belt, this one, Marathwada region, black soil belt, right? Then here the Krishna Godavari belt, this one, right? And the next one is at this the Coimbatore Chennai belt, Coimbatore Chennai belt. So these are the primary belts, okay, where the sugarcane industries are located, main sugar industries are located. Now basically let us look at the factors which are responsible for these locations. So as I have told you, so let us write it here, the factors responsible. Now first factor, obviously, as I told you, that is raw material. Okay, the raw material in sugar industry is what? Sugarcane, right? And sugarcane is weight losing. Plus, once the sugar is cut, it will start losing its sucrose content. Okay, so what is important is here, or what is required here, that you process the sugarcane as soon as possible once you cut the crop. Okay, that means industry must be close to the sugarcane belt, right? Sugarcane farming. The another condition for the another factor is that the tropical region. See, in tropical climates, the sugarcane has more sucrose content, right? In addition to this, in addition to this, the areas of raw material. So in addition to the raw material, the water availability and transport. If you see the water availability. See, in Marat, in this belt, the water level, groundwater level is quite high. Because of this, the water available is not sufficient. And sugarcane, as we know, is water guzzling crop. The next is the transportation. Now if you see in the plain region, the rail as well as road transportation is quite dense. Okay, so this has again promoted the sugar industry in the Tri belt. But what is happening, if you see in the north region, in this north belt, this is mainly a rural belt. So this is basically mainly the rural belt. Okay, and in the rural belt, the sugarcane is facing stiff competition. Sugar is facing stiff competition from good and khandsari. Okay, khand. And because of this, the profitability of the sugar industries have decreased in this region. Okay, and there are many other factors which have decreased the profitability of the sugarcane in this belt, right? One is this is the mainly the dry zone, right? And the decrease in the sugar content in the dry zone, the moment the crop is harvested, and the decrease in the sucrose content in the sugarcane is very fast. And because of this, the amount of the sugar which can be made out of the sugarcane, okay, that decreases in this zone. So again, the sugarcane industries suffer. The next factor is the government policies which have government policy. If you see the areas in this region, the Gujarat and the Uttar Pradesh belt, the areas of the areas to the sugar industries from the government side are very high. This has again reduced the profitability of sugar industries, and many of the sugar industries are set in these zones. Okay, so one of the demand of the farmers, again in the farm agitation, if you see, they want the assured prices for their sugar, right, even before the crushing has started. So there are many reasons because of which the sickness in the sugar industry is continuously witnessed in the dry zone. right? Whether it is competition from the Khan and Khan and good, the jaggery, whether it is a dry zone, fast decrease in the sucrose content, or because of the government policies, right? What is witnessed, this industry is migrating toward the other, that is the tropical, more towards the peninsula region, whether it is the black soil region of the Marathwada or it is the black soil region of the Coimbatore Chennai region. Now, what are the, obviously there is the pull factor out of this region, so the pull factors are active and many reasons are there for pull factor, three that we saw here. But what are the push factor for these regions, that is whether it is Marathwada or Coimbatore Chennai belt? So let us discuss some of the push factors which are operating here. So if you see in the Marathwada, let us say in the push factors in Marathwada belt, the number one is the availability of HYV seeds of the sugarcane. This is the one factor. HYV seeds are giving the high yield and the more sucrose content in the sugarcane, right? Moving on to the second factor, that is the, okay, uh, presence of cooperatives in this region. See, Maharashtra has the dense network or dense network of the cooperatives, and these cooperatives provide very easy finance to the industries, right? So this has again become one reason for the success of the industries, so more particular sugarcane industry in this region. The third is the ports for export and more domestic consumption in the urban areas. See, there are two reasons. There are two things that I am writing here. One is the export. See, Marathwada belt is very close to the big exports, whether it is the JNPT or Gujarat ports. So the sugarcane is exported out of these ports. And the second thing is the southern region is more urbanized as compared to the northern belt. And because of this high urbanization, the competition from Khansari and Good is very less. So this has again favored the establishment of the sugarcane industries in this. And other reason that is very common, that is the sucrose content is high. Sucrose content is high, plus its sustainability of sucrose content is also high. Sustainability of sucrose content is high because of tropical climates, as I told you. Okay, so these are the main four reasons which have acted as a push factor for the sugarcane industries from the northern region, that is from the this region of the Tarai belt of the Uttar Pradesh, right? And the same push factors are acting in the other regions, whether it is the Coimbatore, almost same push factors which are acting here in this region, Marathwada, this thing, Marathwada region, they are also acting in the Coimbatore Chennai belt as well. Okay, so this was all about this thing, sugar industry. Okay, moving on to the next industry, that is the cotton textile. Okay, see, the first thing is that cotton is a pure raw material. So it is a pure raw material, whether you establish industry in the raw material zone or you establish close to market, no problem. But so that will affect, the raw material will affect the location, no, in very very minimal way. So what will affect more the other factors? So let us, for example, first of all see what is the traditional location of the cotton textile industry in India. So So if you see, the traditionally the industry was concentrated in this region, around the Mumbai belt, right? Okay, this is Mumbai. Now, but recently, what has been seen, the industry is moving out to the new locations. Industry is moving out to the new locations like Kanpur, new locations like Ahmedabad, right, to Amritsar, Devangiri, and Madurai Coimbatore belt. This is Devangiri here in Karnataka, Devangiri, and this is the Madurai Coimbatore. So, first of all, let us see the reasons why the industry was present at Mumbai. So there were some factors which were pulling the industry towards the Mumbai, and what were the factors? So for Mumbai region, the main factor was the historical. Okay, the industry was established with the British capital, and the Mumbai was found stable because of the presence of the black soil, which is good soil for the cotton cultivation, because of the presence of ports from where the finished product could be exported, because of the presence of capital, presence of labor, okay, and the HEP, hydroelectric power. So these all factors, in addition to this, the tropical climate, tropical humid climate. In humid climate, the thread is more strong as compared to the dry climate. So these 4 5 factors were mainly responsible for the location or concentration of industry in the Mumbai region. But what happened recently, that Mumbai is the industry is witnessing the decentralization or delocalization out of Mumbai, basically moving out of Mumbai. So what are the reasons for the shift? Let us see. First of all, these were the pull factors that we wrote. Okay, so these were pull factors. So what are the push factors which are moving industry out of the Mumbai? There are a number of push factors. For example, the first is the deindustrialization of Mumbai. See, service industries are being continuously established in the Mumbai region. What is happening because of this? The industries which require large space and which were largely polluting, okay, they are moving out of the region. Okay, because of heavy urbanization. This is the first, that is deindustrialization of Mumbai. The second is the diseconomies of agglomeration. Diseconomies of agglomeration. Now, why diseconomies of agglomeration is happening? Earlier, agglomeration used to give some benefits. Okay, for example, if large number of units get together and they establish at a location, then they had many advantages. Okay, that was agglomeration. But why this diseconomies? Why the agglomeration effect is not giving economic benefits? Okay, that's diseconomy is happening because of increasing labor cost. Okay, Mumbai labor cost has increased. Increasing regulations, particularly the environmental regulations, okay, and the increasing land cost in Mumbai. So these all factors, these main 3 factors are leading that industries are moving out of this region. And there are other factors like if you see the structural factors. So structural factor is also acting as a very big reason for the push, okay, of the industries, the cotton industries out of this. And main structural factor is the presence of the labor unions. So labor unions act as a very strong pressure on the industries, which again reduces the benefits or the profit margin of the industries, leading to moving out of the industry to the areas where the labor pressure is very less. Okay, so these are the main factors which are acting as push factor for the Mumbai region. But if you see, if somewhere there are push factors, Okay, industry will move out of that belt, but somewhere else there will be pull factor where industry will finally go and establish. For example, pull factors are acting on the Ahmedabad, pull factors are present in Kanpur, Amritsar. So they are almost, the pull factors are almost same in all the regions. So let us discuss the pull factors basically. Okay, for example, let us discuss the pull factor of Ahmedabad. Presence of, the first pull factor is the presence of cotton producing areas. Okay, the second factor is presence of large number of natural harbors. Okay, the third factor is the presence of the petrochemical industries in Ahmedabad region. Why? Now, why this factor is acting as a pull factor? Because of the many, raw material, or many of the output of the petrochemical industry is used as the raw material in the cotton textile industries. Okay, and the fourth one is that the policy factor. As per the government policies, the Ahmedabad was chosen as the growth pole, and because of this growth pole concept, the number of industries agglomerated, and from this agglomeration the cotton textile benefited and moved to the Ahmedabad. So these were the main pull factors which acted on the Ahmedabad, right? Moving on to the next, that is pull factors of the Kanpur. Industry has established in Kanpur also, but what are the pull factors? So pull factors of Kanpur, the number one is that the north region, the demand of cotton cloth is very high. Okay, demand of cotton cloth is very high. जिसको देखो वही सूती कपड़ा चाहिए. So this demand basically has attracted the industries toward this region. Number one. Number two is the market. So market, this same region, the demand is very high. Okay, this is the market. The third one is the plain location. The Kanpur is present in on the plain location, Ganga Yamuna Doab plain region, right? And in this plain, the density of the rail and road net, their density of rail and road is very high. This density of rail and road is very high, so the transportation is very easy again, right? The next factor that acts as a pull factor for the Kanpur is the high quality cotton. High quality cotton, the high quality cotton seeds basically, they are brought from Punjab and Rajasthan, right? So this is the fourth factor, and obviously the next factor, that is the labor availability. Heavy population density, okay, and large unemployment makes the labor surplus, this region labor surplus, so labor availability is also present. So these are the pull factors for Kanpur region, right? Moving on to the next, that is again the industry. As we said, industry has also moved towards the, not just Ahmedabad or Kanpur, but industry has also moved towards the Kolkata. So there are some pull factors which are acting on the Kolkata. So what are the pull factors for Kolkata? The pull factors, number one is the agglomeration benefit. In Kolkata, industry has agglomerated with the jute textile. So jute textile and cotton textile, they have agglomerated, right, in the Kolkata. Second one is the petrochemical availability. Again, the petrochemical industries are established in Kolkata Holy Belt as well. The next is the Kolkata port region, so exports are easy. Kolkata port, right? And the next is the, so this led to the market availability, and the final labor availability is again very high. So these are the four factors which act as the pull factor for the Kolkata region, right? Similarly, if you see, let us see one more. If you see the Madurai region, Madurai Coimbatore belt. If you see Madurai Coimbatore belt. Now, what are the pull factors acting in the Madurai Coimbatore belt? The number one is the black soil region. This is also a black soil region, right? Black soil belt. Plus, there are agglomeration with silk industry. Okay. The industry has agglomerated with silk textile. Okay. Plus the availability of ports. Right. Ports like Chennai port and Nor port. Right. So these are the pull factors for the Madurai Coimbatore belt. So what we saw, the first of all, the location of industry, the many factors which are responsible for the location of the cotton textile in Mumbai. Okay. And then its reasons for its moving out to the other regions. So this is about the cotton textile industry, right? Moving on to the next, that is the fertilizer industry. Okay, so let us see the next industry, that is the fertilizer industry. And we will see the locational factors, the factors which are responsible for the location of the fertilizer industry. The first factor, that is the presence of oil refineries. Presence of oil refineries. See, about 70% of the plants which produce the nitrogenous fertilizers, they use naphtha as a raw material, and naphtha is the waste material or the product of the oil refineries. So about this 70% of nitrogenous fertilizer plants, they use naphtha, which is output of the oil and refinery industries. So this will also benefit the fertilizer industry. The second factor is the presence of iron and steel industry. Presence of iron and steel industries. The one product of the iron and steel industries is slag. And slag is used as a raw material in the fertilizer industries, right? So this is again will benefit the location of the fertilizer industry, presence of iron and steel industry. The next factor which can influence the location here, the next factor, that is third, is the pipeline infrastructure. See, the fertilizer plants can use either the naphtha or the gas, right? And which can be easily transported through pipeline. For example, HBJ gas pipeline. HBJ gas pipeline. This is pipeline which is operated by GAIL India, right? Gas Authority of India Limited. And H stand for Hazira. Okay, it is Bijapur. And it is Jagdishpur in UP. Okay. And if you see, at many terminals of this gas pipeline, starting from Hazira in Gujarat to Jagdishpur in UP, at many points, 6 places along this gas pipeline, at 6 places the fertilizer plants have get established. Now, what are these 6 places? For example, at Bijapur there is a fertilizer plant. Bijapur. Okay. At Savai Madhopur, again on this line only, there is a fertilizer plant. On Aola, sorry, Anola, whatever it say. Again there is a fertilizer plant. Shahjahanpur. Again there is a fertilizer plant. Okay, so these 2 places more. There are 2 places also more also that where the along HBJ pipeline the fertilizer plants have been established. Okay, so again the pipeline infrastructure and their capacity to transport the naphtha and the gases to these plants has again made the fertilizer industry's location useful, right, to study. The next factor which influence their location of the fertilizer industry is the port facilities. See, Indian soils, if you see, the Indian soils are deficient in all 3 nutrients: nitrogen, phosphorus, potash. Sorry, NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potash. But phosphorus and potash, they are largely imported in India. So, if you see phosphorus and potash, they are largely imported. Okay, and to reduce the transportation cost, these facilities are largely established close to the ports, right? So this is the fourth factor establishing the locational pattern of the fertilizer industries, right? So this is the factors that we saw, 3-4 factors. Now, what are the challenges that are facing the industry? So let us look at few of the challenges facing the industry. The first challenge is we do not have a stable policy, right? So what we need is a stable inclusive policy. So stable inclusive policy absence, stable inclusive policy which can guide the fertilizer industry, that is largely absent in Indian case. The second case is the misutilization of subsidies, misutilization and wrong channelization of subsidies. This is again a problem, right? Then the continuously evolving new factors like the organic farming. These new techniques are again challenging the old fertilizers, right? So these are the main challenges to the industries. Okay. Moving on to the next industry and that we can discuss is the pharma industry. See, India is called as the pharmacy of world and we are one of the largest exporter of the generic medicine to the world, right? So there are number of factors which influence the location of the pharma industries in India. For example, the first factor, important factor, is obviously the raw material. Okay, so raw material influences its location. For example, in case of the India, the industry has agglomerated or largely been established at Western Ghats, near Western Ghats. Okay, where what happens, large ports are present, and these port facilities acts as importing points for APIs which is largely comes from China. Okay, so this has acted as a big locational factor for the fertilizer industries in the Western Ghats. Okay, but if you see the second factor, let me say the government policy. See, the government many times promote the industry, for example, through special economic zones. Government promotes the agglomeration of industry in this zone. Okay, similarly, the government policy, for example, tax cuts, this also promotes the location of promotes the localization of an industry. For example, in case of Baddi is in Himachal Pradesh, and it has also been established because of this factor, tax cuts. So government gave a number of incentives in the form of tax cuts, okay, so that the Baddi could be established as a pharma hub, right? So number of pharmaceutical companies came and established in this region, right? So we said that raw material, ports, government policies. In addition to that, the labor supply, the third factor can be said is the labors. Let us write it here. Labor supply. For example, the pharma industry largely requires skilled population. So pharma required this skilled labor, and skilled labor is mostly found in the urban areas, okay, and more so in the southern India. So this has again become a big factor for localization of industry. Okay. Another factor which can be said responsible for the localization of the pharma is the climate. Climate, for example, humidity. When the medicines are made and they are packed, the regions required the less humidity, okay, or the humidity in appropriate amount, so that it does not influences the medicines content and the quality. So this again become a reason for the localization of the industry, right? Climate. Similarly, the if you say the topography, soil, okay. In addition to that, in addition to this, the land availability, okay, because the pharma industries require large areas of the land, okay, for establishing the plant. And in addition to that, they have to dispose of their waste, the waste which may be many times dangerous for the local population. So in that case, the industry would have to be established in far away locations, away from the rural and the urban areas, so that the people are least affected. So this land availability is again a crucial factor for the localization of the pharma industry. So these are the 4 5 factors which can be written for the localization of the pharma industries in India, right? Raw material, government policy, labor supply, climate, and the land availability, right? So this is the pharma industry, right? Moving on to the next industry, that is the paper industry. Okay, so let us start with the paper industry. So in case of paper industry, the main raw material is the wood pulp, okay, and it is a bulky material. It is a bulky material. So if you apply the Weber's theory, on that basis the paper industry must be established in proximity to the raw material centers. In these proximities. So on that basis, the wood pulp, if you say, and the best material is the softwood, best material is the softwood. But softwood is obtained, if you will see, the softwood is obtained from the coniferous forest, coniferous trees, right? And the coniferous trees, they are present basically in Himalayas in India. And if you see content wise, the softwood basically that comes from the Himalayan region, that contributes only 7% raw material to the Indian paper industry, right? So just 7% of the raw material is given by this coniferous tree wood, right? The second that comes raw material that is utilized in paper industry comes from bamboo tree, bamboo. And this is important. 70% raw material of paper industry in India, of paper industry, that comes from the bamboo forest. Okay, so it is important. So bamboo forest and the bamboo cultivation for the paper industry is very important. So in terms of, you see the extent of the production, Karnataka is the largest producer of the bamboo. So Karnataka is the largest producer of bamboo, followed by Assam. So it is followed by Assam. So this is the second raw material which is utilized in the paper industry and constitute close to 70%. Moving on to the third factor, the third substance which can be utilized as the raw material for the paper industry is bagasse. Bagasse. What is it? It is the residual part of the sugar industry. So sugar industry residual part. Right. And bagasse constitute 7% of the paper industry, 7% of raw material. So 7% of the raw material in paper industry is constituted by the bagasse, right? Similarly, there is another material also which acts as a raw material for this thing, the paper industry, that is the subble grasses, right? And the subble grasses, they constitute close to 15% of raw material for paper industry. That comes from the subble grasses, and this subble grass is mostly grown in the Madhya Pradesh. So Madhya Pradesh is the largest producer of subble grasses, right? So hope this helps. This is the fourth one, right? And few of the locations, let me tell you that also. So this is not a geographical aspect. These are the few of the factors that we said affect the paper industry location, may affect the paper industry location. For example, the subble grass is present, paper industry will get established here. Where the sugar industry is present, because of the residual bagasse, the paper industry will get established. So on that, let us see few locations. If you see few locations of paper industry, the first in West Bengal. In West Bengal, for example, the Titagarh, okay, Raniganj, in Banswariya, Howrah, Kolkata. In these regions, again, paper industry has established. So let us, and in case of Karnataka, if you see, there are many locations again in Karnataka as well. For example, Mysore, Bangalore, Bhadravati. In these points also, the industry has established. The paper industry has been established. Again, if you see in the Andhra Pradesh, in Rajmundry, right, Tirupati, the paper industry has been established. In MP, for example, as I said that MP is the largest grower of sabai grasses. It was not subble grasses, it was sabai grass, Sabai. Please correct that, it is sabai grass. Subvigrass. So Madhya Pradesh is the largest grower. So in Madhya Pradesh, if you see at number of places, for example, at Bhopal, okay, at Ratlam, okay, at the Indore. So in these places, the paper industry has established. Okay, so these locations can be mapped or can be put on the map. So this will make it a geographical, right? So this is the paper industry. So we did 4 5 industry, I think 5 or 6 industries. Let me once see which industries we have completed. Okay, we started with the jute, we did that. Sugar, we did that. Cotton, we did. Fertilizers, paper, as well as pharma. So basically our main focus was the locational aspect, that what are the main factors that are acting or affecting the location of these 6 industries, right? So this was our main focus, and you largely saw the main factors remains what the Weber counted, whether it is the raw material, whether it is the labor, okay, and agglomeration. These were the main factors which the Weber counted in his theory, and these remains largely the factors affecting the location of industries. So we did these industrial topics as well, okay, and we will continue with the concept of industries only, because industries is not over, and the many factors, whether it is about, okay, special economic zones, whether it is about coastal economic zones, okay, whether it is about NIMZ, okay, or the industrial regions of India, like Pune region, okay, Madras region, Kolkata region, Delhi Noida region, Amritsar region. So all the industrial regions that we will also discuss. Okay, what were the factors responsible for formation of such industrial regions? What are the problems these industrial regions are experiencing? These all factors we will discuss in the next class, right? So this was the class number 17, and this is it in this class. Okay, and again there is a request, please subscribe the channel. So before you close, subscribe the channel, right? And this is in this class, and we will start with the next class with the topics that we said, right? So thank you.